It's been 15 years since Skyrim redefined the RPG genre, but since then we've witnessed many greats come out, like the rise of Elden Ring, the narrative perfection of Baldur's Gate 3, and the technical wizardry of Cyberpunk 2.0. Meanwhile, what has Bethesda been doing? They've been stuck in the same loop for a decade, in the same creation engine doing the same slop with very little innovation. And with Starfield finally hitting PS5 this month and the expansion Terran Armada dropping, the truth is finally out. The Bethesda magic is fading, and for the first time in my life as a gaming analyst for you guys, I am genuinely worried for The Elder Scrolls 6. Today I'm performing a deep dive into why the Hammerfell rumors aren't enough to save this game. We're breaking down the technical debt of the Creation Engine 3, the loss of handcrafted world building, and why Todd Howard's classic styles promise might be a red flag. But before we get into this video, if you guys don't know me by now, I'm MrFrostyFlamez, but you can call me Mike. I do anything gaming reviews, analyses, commentary, gameplay, and we do it in a chill way, none of that over editing BS. We're here for our own vibes. And if you like that type of content, make sure you drop a sub and join the MrFrostyFlamez Legion. We're 1,500 strong, we're aiming for 1,600, and we're moving pretty quick, so make sure you claim that spot in the Legion. Anyways, back to the video. To start off, let's look at the bones of the Elder Scrolls and Bethesda games. So Todd Howard recently confirmed that the Elder Scrolls 6 is being built on Creation Engine 3, and that's going to be what the game is going to be built on. So if Creation Engine 3 is flawed, then it's going to be likely that Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever games they build on that engine is going to be flawed too. While that engine promises stuff like improved lighting and photogrammetry, we have to look at the engine debt. So Starfield struggled for years because the switch to Creation Engine 2 sort of like pulled the rug out from the content team. But the big worry here is the cell-based architecture. In 2026, we expect seamless worlds, games that sort of just transition without any loading time. If Hammerfell is riddled with loading screens for every shop and dungeon because the engine still can't stream assets like Crimson Desert can, then I think the game is going to be not dead on arrival, but it's going to get heavy backlash. We're analyzing the nesting script errors that Bethesda admitted slowed down Starfield and why those same bottlenecks are likely baked into Creation Engine 3, the engine that's Elder Scrolls 6 is running on. Now let's get a rundown of Starfield and why that game kind of sucked when it came to technical. Okay, a lot of games now are using seamless transitioning where there's very little load times, but with Starfield, this is what it was like just to leave a planet. Okay, you fast travel to your ship, loading screen. You enter your ship, loading screen. You sit on your cockpit, loading screen. You select a planet, loading screen. And it's like you gotta load into the planet, you load into space, you load into everything, and it's just loading screen heaven, you know? If you love loading screens, you know, you're gonna love Starfield. You're probably gonna love Elder Scrolls 6, but this is 2026, and it's gonna be later, probably 2027, 2028 when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. We can't have that same, you know, loading screen, loading screen, loading screen. The Elder Scrolls 6 will feel like a 2011 game with a 2026 or not 2026, whenever the game comes out, whatever that year, coat of paint on. This is not an old game. We need to get with the times and we need to innovate for Elder Scrolls 6 to get better. Trust me, I'm excited for the game. Elder Scrolls is probably my favorite franchise of all time. I have so much passion for it, but I don't want them to mess it up. Oblivion, Skyrim, you say whatever you want to say about them, they're corny, whatever, they're masterpieces to me, and I love them. The same could go with the Fallout games. That's why I really want Elder Scrolls 6 to be great. Another thing is we want handcrafted worlds. We can't do that procedural generation thing that Starfield did because that was such a disappointment. Todd Howard said that the Elder Scrolls 6 is a return to the classic style of, say, Skyrim and Oblivion. But can we really trust that after like the 1,000 planets debacle that Todd claimed for Starfield? Rumors suggest that Bethesda is using the naval exploration and large-scale cities to fill Hammerfell, but my fear is that they've become addicted to procedural generation. If the Iliac Bay, which is that bay area in the Elder Scrolls lore, if you look on the map, is just a collection of procedurally generated islands with the same 3 radiant pirate camps, or, you know, there's no sense of discovery with that. It's the very soul of Elder Scrolls, which is the exploration, is going to be gone. We're comparing the density of Morrowind's Vardenfell to Starfield's procedural outposts that show exactly how much environmental storytelling has been lost in the transition to a massive scale. You can't procedurally generate a Dark Brotherhood masterpiece. It would suck if everything is just generated and it's the same thing with lifeless things. We need a handcrafted world, every dungeon built to perfection, every city built to perfection. Hell, even every NPC should be built to perfection. I loved it how in Skyrim they had like, well, most NPCs other than like the guards and like the regular soldiers that are throwaways, they had names. Even if that NPC had nothing to do with the story, not even no side quests or nothing, they had a name and they had a daily routine. It seemed like a lot of NPCs in Starfield, they just sit there and they're just called citizen. Like, you don't have their name or nothing, right? Of course you're not going to know their name, but say like you talk to them, you could learn their name. Give every NPC like an actual character, sort of like how in Oblivion you had that persuasion system, and you could like basically every character either liked you or disliked you depending on like that number that showed. See, that was like an old game, but that still was really good. We need something similar with Elder Scrolls 6, and then the world needs to be beautiful and handcrafted, not no AI or just generating islands and generating random stuff for your playthrough. That's not it. That's not going to cut it. Okay, so another funny thing is former Bethesda designers have recently gone on record saying that the Elder Scrolls 6 was supposed to be sort of like the Empire Strikes Back of the series, but come on, we've seen a communication breakdown within the studio during Starfield's development. The worry is narrative sanitization. In 2026, RPG fans want grit, consequence, and complex morality, sort of like the things how Witcher and Baldur's Gate delivered. But Bethesda's recent writing has felt sort of like a corporate safe. Every faction feels like an HR approved version of a fantasy trope. If the Elder Scrolls 6 doesn't bring back the dark, politically driven story rumored for the Redguards, it's gonna feel hollow in a post-Larian world, because Baldur's Gate came out, because Witcher came out, even games like Mass Effect that are older, they set the standards so high for RPG games and the narrative choice. We wanna play a role. We wanna play bad or good. We can't have like a Dragon Age Veilguard where we're forced to be the good guy, and I'm sure that Bethesda won't go that far because Todd loves, the different sides you could take, the different types of path. But look at like Starfield, it's like every single faction felt kind of lame, right? I mean, what was your favorite Starfield faction? Mine was like the Crimson Fleet, because to me it felt like that was like the only faction where it felt like it had character and my character could be morally gray rather than the generic I'll be good, or like the Constellation faction. I mean, that was lame, bro. Like the main faction was lame. But anyways, I don't know. That's just my take on Starfield's faction. This video is not about Starfield, but Bethesda needs to avoid that. In fact, go a way that they've always done. Add a Thieves Guild, add a Dark Brotherhood, a Mages, and a Fighting Guild, and perhaps add more factions. We want this game to be massive. And you know what? Make it so these factions actually clash. Make it so there are consequences. Say you work for the Dark Brotherhood and you do something, you could upset like a Thieves Guild member. Maybe there's like a mission where the Thieves Guild has to steal from the Mages Guild, and then if you do that and you get caught, the Mages Guild will get mad at you. Something like that, something to make sure there's consequence. That was the big thing that Larian and Baldur's Gate 3 taught us, is consequence, and people love them, and it adds tons and tons of replayability. Come on, Elder Scrolls 6, we gotta do this right. Last but not least, we have to talk about the Verified Creator Program. Bethesda is now a platform, not just a dev. My biggest worry is that they are designing the Elder Scrolls 6 to be a mod dependent game from day one. If they launch a buggy, empty Hammerfell with the expectation that the community will fix it and they will sell those fixes back to us through the creation store, that is the final betrayal of the fanbase. We're not looking for an economic game like Fallout 4 or those Skyrim remasters. We want something that the game or Bethesda actually did in the past. Release a genuine, authentic experience, and you could just sell us good DLC. We'll get it. We don't want to just monetize these mods and have the community have the DLC for you. You gotta show us yourself. So in the end, Todd Howard admits he regrets announcing the game in 2018. He knows the stakes are impossible. The Elder Scrolls 6 isn't just a game, it's the last chance for Bethesda Game Studios to prove that they are still the kings of the RPG genre. But I want to be wrong. I want a handcrafted technical masterpiece in Hammerfell. But based off of the receipts from the last 5 years, worried is just an understatement. What about you? Are you living on hopium and copium? Or have you moved on to other RPGs? Let me know. I'm MrFrostyFlamez, and if you like these videos, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the MrFrostyFlamez Legion. This is a new one on Elder Scrolls 6, and sorry that my voice sounded a little bit weird, I'm a little sick, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless. Anyways, thank you all for watching. MrFrostyFlamez out. Ciao.